Hello everyone, Kdog here, and welcome to my first YouTube video. I might be on the late bandwagon when it comes to being a content creator, but hey, better late than never I guess. As for my first video, I wanted to give you guys a broad look into my gaming library. The topic in question, my favorite video game franchises. I've been playing video games for most of my life, so I've played a ton of memorable, fun, and impactful franchises in my day. And these 10 are my absolute favorites. A couple rules before we begin. First off, please keep in mind that this is my personal opinion, and if you disagree with any of my choices, that's fine, let's have a discussion in the comments. Just don't be an ass about it. And second, these are being ranked based on how much fun I have with these series and how much they have impacted me on my life. We good? Cool, let's get to it. These are my top 10 favorite video game franchises. Alright, this first pick may be entirely due to nostalgic reasons, but over time, this series has maintained its status in the platforming genre, and has even made a very nice comeback. And that series is Crash Bandicoot. Talk about an unexpected start. Yes, for number 10 on my list, I have Crash Bandicoot, a series that has been with me since the very beginning and has never left my side, while also being one with quite the rocky history, so while it's had its rough edges, you simply can't beat a classic. Starting on the original PlayStation, Crash Bandicoot was Sony's answer to Mario and Sonic back in the day, and I think they gave Nintendo and Sega a run for their money, and Naughty Dog certainly delivered, starting with the original PlayStation trilogy that put Crash's name on the map and are still some of the best 3D platformers of all time. What made Crash Bandicoot so captivating at the time for me was just how difficult the games were. Unlike Mario and Sonic, that tended to be a little easier, Crash Bandicoot did not hold your hand, and it certainly showed by how many times you will see that game over screen. Not to mention that the level design is varied and the music is clever with its corresponding environments. But these two levels can go die in a fire! However, going past the original trilogy after Naughty Dog's rights to the series were disbanded, the series started declining a bit, but that doesn't mean the series is suddenly bad, as you still have really fun titles like the GBA games, Crash to Insanity, and Crash of the Titans, yes I went there, which the latter two changed core gameplay mechanics to add a little variety to spice things up. Not to mention, this series has some very memorable characters like Neo Cortex, Embryo, and Engine, though I am suddenly wondering why Cortex, Brio, and Jin start their first names with N. Pure coincidence? Yes, Wrath of Cortex and Mind Over Mutant are utter garbage, and gem collecting in the original trilogy is insanely frustrating, but I believe Crash Bandicoot has held its legacy and status with more good than bad, and it even has fun spin-off games in Crash Team Racing and Crash Bash. Like I said, this first entry is very nostalgic to me since the original trilogy holds most of the weight of the entire franchise, but the franchise as a whole has always given me a fun time with its clever level design, great soundtracks, varied gameplay mechanics for better or for worse, and its memorable characters. Let us hope Crash 4, It's About Time, can maintain the greatness that this series is known for. This is probably the franchise I have played the most, but that doesn't necessarily mean it is my favorite. What do you expect when you combine Nintendo's most iconic franchises and surprising third-party characters and have them all beat the crap out of each other? Well, my friends, you get the greatest crossover of all time. while I am a huge sucker for fighting games, Super Smash Bros. Was the one to fit right at home on my list, as it is not only one of the most popular fighting game franchises of all time, but a series where you could soak several hours into because of how simplistic and fun these games are. Hell, I've already spent over 1,000 hours on Smash Ultimate, so who knows how long I've spent on the other games. Probably more time than over 20 years of homework. Smash has been an iconic series since the very beginning. The very idea of having your favorite characters fight to the death is already an intriguing concept, but it's what they build off that is what makes Smash what it is. For starters, controls are simple to understand and apply to every character. With most fighting games, characters may have specific inputs that can be complex and rather confusing at times, but Smash doesn't overcomplicate things, but rather makes it more accessible to more people, and I appreciate that. Not to mention, the character rosters are fantastic. Not only do these games contain obvious candidates like Mario, Link, and Pikachu, but also some more obscure characters like Villager, Rob, and Mr. Game & Watch? What? And even third-party candidates like Sonic, Snake, Cloud, and even Joker. Each character has their own unique moveset and attacks that relate to their respective games. Most of the time. All these games look amazing for their consoles, the music is gorgeous, there are different modes to play around in, and knocking my opponent off screen always puts a triumphant smile on my face. I love all these games. They're some of the most fun I've ever had playing video games, especially with my friends in multiplayer. They're also some of the biggest games when it comes to fan service. I mean, in Smash Ultimate, there's 1,300 spirits to unlock. 1,300 other cameos. That's insane. Yes, none of these games are perfect. 64's limited options, Melee's clone characters are lazy, Brawl's overall speed and the Subspace Emissary is lacking, 4's classic mode and Smash Tour can go die, and Ultimate's World of Light is underwhelming, but I'm just nitpicking at this point. It honestly pains me to put Smash so low on the list because of how much fun this series is. But when it comes to impact, Smash didn't really impact me as much as the other franchises on this list. But regardless, Super Smash Bros. Will always be my fighting game of choice. And with Smash Ultimate's DLC that's already given us more fun and interesting characters, I can't wait to see what the rest of Wave 2 will offer us. Please give us Shantae, that's all I ask for. So, we've had Sony and Nintendo appear so far, but don't we seem to be missing someone from the 90s video game Triforce?
I'm waiting!
Damn it, man, you ruined the joke! Well, that was awkward. But yes, coming in at number 8, we have Sonic the Hedgehog, which is probably the most interesting and infamous series on this list. What I mean by that is how rockier this series has been than Crash Bandicoot, and the fact that the fanbase is polarizing. Well, I'm my own Sonic fan, and I can safely say that this is one of my favorite video game franchises, although I'll still probably trigger some Sonic fans. Sega's Blue Blur has my respect, despite its interesting experiments. After all, these games are filled with action and adrenaline that will always keep you on your toes. The overall speed the games have to offer can get really insane at times, I mean just like a Sonic Unleashed. And this really means something when Sonic games reward you good speed for good platforming performance. I also must give massive props to the soundtracks of these games, as they are some of the most epic, awesome, headbang-worthy tunes you will ever listen to. Sonic games also have some pretty good characters that I really like. Fight Me! Some of them even had deep, compelling backstories and motives like Shadow, until they got absolutely ruined.
You have got to be kidding!
Back to more positives. While Sonic excels in his main platforming mechanics, there have been times where Sega was more experimental when it came to stuff like the Werehog and the Wisp powers, and I really like them, to be honest. You see, I'm a guy who can appreciate something different from a series' main formula if done correctly, and most of Sonic's experimental phase was good. Note that I said mostly. Though, despite everything I could say about the Sonic games as a whole, I still find myself coming back for more, and that's what I really like about the Sonic series. Whether it's getting an S rank on every level, the Chao Gardens, or anything to do with Sonic Mania, This series has always spoiled me when it comes to replay value. Admittedly, Sonic the Hedgehog is probably the most flawed franchise on this list, but that doesn't stop me from enjoying these games to the fullest. The gameplay is fun, the music is phenomenal, the characters are pretty good, and it always keeps me coming back for more. Sonic has been one of the biggest franchises from my childhood, and he certainly isn't going anywhere anytime soon. Though it can be quite troubling with games like 06, Boom, and Forces planning in my memory.
That's no good.
No doubt, but now I'm not sure why we're here. This place looks totally harmless.
Because Eggman plus secretly built amusement park equals evil plot for us to foil.
Who could forget the Blue Bomber? Yes sir, it's finally time to talk about Mega Man. Man, what is it with me and franchises with rocky histories? Whatever. Having recently played the Legacy collections of the Classic, X, and Zero series on the Switch, as well as other spin-offs, I can see why people were so fond of Mega Man before Capcom stopped giving a shit about him. And that's a real shame because Mega Man is truly a phenomenon. Allow me to explain. Starting way back in the 1980s on the NES, Capcom's platforming king has surprisingly stayed for a long time despite the series' core gameplay mechanic is as simple as jumping and shooting. But Mega Man is so much more. First off, the music is incredible. Every game has at least a few songs I could jam to. The games also look really good for their respective systems. The gameplay of the main series and spin-offs are great here. The Classic series may not have changed for decades, but they also give different Robot Masters each time, which means more level variety and more creativity in the weapons you're rewarded with for defeating the Robot Masters. But the spin-offs are an even bigger reason why Mega Man is on the list. Mega Man X, Zero, Star Force, Battle Network, all these spin-offs have darker stories, more compelling characters, and expanded gameplay. These are the much more interesting games in the Mega Man series. Not to mention that all the Mega Man games are fun as hell and satisfying to beat, as these games are known for their difficulty and showing you no mercy. Mega Man is a series that tests your platforming skills, and if you are not prepared, you are going to die a lot and see that game over screen more times than you're comfortable with. But if you're one who seeks for a greater challenge, then Mega Man is a series to get started with. I am a massive fan of platformers, but Mega Man is one of the definitive examples that ascends my love for platformers. The music is kick-ass, the gameplay is fun, the lore has been greatly expanded upon over the years, and the impact this series has done for me and the platforming genre dancingly descended into video game history. Rock on, Mega Man, you roll. Get it? Because his Japanese name is Rock?
You can't take me down the side! Time to end this!
This is probably a controversial opinion since this is one of the most popular franchises out there and many people love this franchise so much and it's considered one of their favorites. But I'm not everyone. Number 6 is The Legend of Zelda. Oh boy, I can't wait for people to be at my door just to aim their pitchforks, torches, and demo mans right at me. But please, before you all decide to throw everything you got at me, allow me to explain the reason as to why I have The Legend of Zelda just outside the top 5. There's no denying that the Legend of Zelda series is, well, legendary in the video game industry, and I can see why. Of all the Legend of Zelda games I've played, I could easily tell that a lot of effort and polish was put into this franchise. For starters, the stories and lore of the Zelda universe are one of the most interesting and fascinating I've ever seen in a video game franchise.
Great! I'll grab my stuff!
Bitch, get back in your room!
Anyways, not only are those stories varied, but they're all intriguing and engaging in their own right. Also, all these games look and sound amazing on their own respective systems. Whether it's Link to the Past sprites, Wind Waker's cell shading, or Breath of the Wild's glorious HD. But as we already know, looks aren't everything. Thankfully, gameplay is just as strong here. Dungeon layouts and puzzles, for the most part, are well thought out and fun to play through. Combat is very fluid and fun as well. Boss battles can also be enjoyable, some of them are my absolute favorites in gaming, and the open worlds give you a ton of freedom in how you want to tackle said dungeons. So why is Zelda at number 6? The biggest reasons? Certain dungeons and boss battles are ones that could potentially hurt your overall experience for how frustrating and tedious they can be. Looking at you, Water Temple. Every Zelda game has this, don't you deny it. And the bigger reason? Impact. Even with all things this series has done right, Zelda games haven't really made as much of an impact on me as the higher ranked series on this list. Despite my own biased shortcomings to this series, I can definitely see why many people consider The Legend of Zelda to be one of their favorites. The stories and lore are intriguing, the graphics are fantastic, the gameplay is great, the music is godlike, and all these games are very fun as a whole. I just didn't get impacted as much with this series as much as the top 5 on this list. Though to be fair, if I did, then I would assure you it would crack the top 5. So that's why Zelda is number 6. Now can all of you stop pointing your weapons at me, please? And now, we have the most iconic video game franchise stepping in. Go figure. Of course the plumber himself would make it onto this list. It's pretty much inevitable given the fact that it's the most iconic video game franchise out there. For the past 35 years, Mario has been absolutely everywhere and has spread out to every kind of genre imaginable. Sports, racing games, party games, puzzle games, RPGs, even the entirety of platformers were saved thanks to this franchise. So let's dive right in. The Mario series has been around for decades. The infamous video game crash of 1983 occurred and almost killed the video game industry. But then a little title known as Super Mario Bros. On a Nintendo Entertainment System released, and literally saved the industry, selling almost 50 million units to this very day. And ever since then, the Mario series has exploded into what it is today. But first, let's talk about the core platforming series, Super Mario. The main series of Mario is a set of fun and enjoyable platformers. Yeah, the environments of the 2D platformers are the same, but the level designs are all different. Most of the time. The 3D ones always find something to add on to the core gameplay mechanics, whether it's Sunshine's Flood, Galaxy's Gravity because you're in space, and Odyssey's Capture feature with Cappy. And I really appreciate the 3D platformers more. Nothing against the 2D ones, I love those as well. But the 3D ones usually offer more variety and sometimes offer unique power-ups exclusive to their respective games. And then there's the spin-offs. Holy cow, there is a lot of them. While these can never compare to the main platforming games, they are still very fun in their own right. Whether it's Mario Kart, Mario Party, the various sports games, and my favorite Mario spin-offs, the RPGs. If I'm being perfectly honest here, the mix of the main series and the spin-offs is what puts the Mario series in my top 5. It's rare for a massive series such as this one to excel in both fields. Don't worry, we'll get to you later. The Mario series is the largest franchise out there today, and yes, there are those duds, but who cares about those when almost everything else in the series is fun and enjoyable? Not to mention that the spin-offs are absolutely addicting. But a series can't be without its main series, and because of the mix of the two fields being very fun, the Mario series takes number 5 on my list. Oh man, got some real spice coming in now. These next 4 franchises mean so much to me and have really impacted me on a whole new level that I wanted to give these 4 franchises a tie. But I have to rank them somehow, and this is what I went with. So, at number 4, we have my favorite adventure series and my favorite sci-fi series of all time. Sorry Zelda, you're amazing and all, but Metroid is really where it's at when it comes to offering a grand adventure of epic proportions. Being one of Nintendo's longest-running video game franchises, it's no surprise that Metroid has certainly gained its popularity over the years, and for good reason. While other sci-fi series like Star Fox showcase the fun-loving action of space, Metroid loves to explore space's deepest, darkest colors. Metroid's innovative exploration and use of isolation are fascinating when it comes to the player. You are all alone, but you're still so capable. The worlds are another fascinating aspect of Metroid. Each world you explore always leaves you with a sense of mystery around every corner. And with a bunch of powerful and creative weapons at your disposal, progression in a new world always feels so fun and satisfying. It's a brilliant mix of a sense of mystery and dread, while having creatures and monsters that drive and play around with your fears and wonders of space. Though I have noticed a lot of people who have beef with all of this. Things like a lack of guidance getting you lost or frustrated, having to backtrack through worlds already explored, and how this entire sense of mystery, dread, and darkness may be a little too much. And I can see where you all are coming from, but to me, that's what an adventure is all about. A worthy challenge for my mind. While yes, I still do have tons of fun just from playing, the way Metroid can speak to me in such an impactful way without any words is simply breathtaking. Not to mention that Samus herself is such a memorable character and protagonist. Regardless of how you view Metroid, you cannot deny that this series is a marvel when it comes to the adventure genre. The exploration, the worlds, the sense of mystery, the creative weapons, the music, oh my god, the music! Being my favorite thing in all of sci-fi, Metroid is truly groundbreaking and will soar sky high in the cosmos for many years to come. How about we give off a different vibe for number 3? Case in point, visual novels. Some people don't refer to these as games, but I disagree, especially when said visual novels have gameplay aspects to them. So with that being said, let's talk about Ace Attorney. Wow, what a series this is. For those who have played this series, you know exactly why Ace Attorney is so high on my list. It is the best example of how a boring concept can be executed so beautifully, emotionally, hilariously, and just being overall polished so well. So, let us dive into the courtroom and allow me to present my case. Now, at a first glance, this concept doesn't seem all that interesting on paper. Visual novel crime solving? Yawn. However, despite this franchise not having much in terms of actual gameplay, everything else about the Ace Attorney series is superb. For a visual novel, the stories and writing are everything, and fortunately, this series does amazing in both departments. Each game has about 4 to 5 of these separate stories in them, and not only are they varied, except for how the victims die most of the time, but the writing takes these stories to a whole new level. It is the perfect blend between serious and nonsensical. One minute you're trying to solve a murder that links to another one back 15 years ago and trying to solve both murders at the same time, then the next you're arguing with your spiritual assistant the difference between a ladder and a stepladder. And it is priceless. The games also have some bright and colorful characters that benefit the writing to a T, and even some solid character development from recurring characters in the series, the biggest examples being Miles Edgeworth and Apollo Justice. The games also look fantastic for the DS and 3DS systems. The music is absolutely incredible, and there's a very nice and satisfying sense of justice from putting the bad guys in their place. But the biggest reason this series is so high on my list is just how well executed and polished these games are. Even though these games do have their flaws, they're mostly just nitpicks and they never really pull me out of the overall experience. Everything that makes this series great comes together as a cohesive whole very well. Especially with the stories, where it just entices you to keep playing to see the twists and turns in the plot and what happens in the end. I could go on and on about this series, but I know we all don't have all day, so I'm just going to leave it with this. If there was one series from this list that I would recommend to all of you to give a try at least once, it's this one. Everything falls into place and gave me one hell of a great time. It's also thanks to this series that the word objection takes an entirely different meaning in my life now. Oh, and one more thing. They referenced 50 Shades of Grey and still managed to be classy about it. Let that sink in.
Your Honor, the defense was born ready.
The prosecution is also ready.
Yeah, this was an obvious one. What could even be said about Pokemon that hasn't been said already?
Nothing! Stupid!
At this point, I'm just going to sound like a broken record, and it's not entirely my fault when a majority of the world is so infatuated with Pokemon. But I'll do my best. It's one of the most successful media franchises known to man. It also just so happens to be one of the most fun, influential, impactful, and straight up amazing video game franchises in the entire world. And I'm just yet another fan about to explain why I love this series so much. But where do I start? Okay, Pokemon was one of the first games I ever played and has never left my side since. Sure, these games are all about children and teens with single mothers capturing all these weird creatures to beat the crap out of each other. But it's what they build off that makes me love Pokemon. First off, the creativity of the Pocket Monsters themselves is just astonishing. I don't know how Game Freak manages this creativity for almost 900 Pokemon now, but I gotta give them massive props. Taking notes from mythology, folklore, science, and even our everyday lives, and they shape it up beautifully into a world we wish existed. Even with the brilliant battle system that's just gotten better and better over the years, fantastic art that I'll never get tired of looking at, godly music that will always be stuck in my head, and in some cases, compelling stories and characters. Never mind the fact that I also have tons of fun playing these games, including the spin-offs. Seriously, games like Pokemon Stadium, Snap, Mystery Dungeon, and Conquest, just to name a few, are very good in their own right. Pokemon has shown and proven to me time and time again what imagination can really do to the fullest. But what really makes Pokemon so wonderful for me is all the memories and all the times this series has helped me through my darkest times. Make my day, help me through my pain, create my own happiness, and has essentially cured me once of depression. Nobody, with the exception of number 1, can give me that kind of power, and that is why Pokemon will always be amazing to me. Miraculously, there is still one more franchise that I love more, and it was very tough deciding between Pokemon and the next franchise, so I'll just say this. Pokemon is one of the few franchises where it is absolutely necessary to experience whether you love it or not. I chose you a long time ago, and it was one of the best choices I ever made. But alas, there is another. And so, we're finally at number 1. For a franchise to be number 1 on my list, it needs to not only be a fun, intuitive, and well thought out franchise to me, but it has to impact me more so than any other franchise already listed, and I found it. A franchise that was on the verge of death, but came back better than ever and transformed into a worldwide phenomenon. Ladies and gentlemen, I give you, in my eyes, the king of RPGs. I love Fire Emblem. This series has been with me since the very beginning of my gaming life. I love everything about this series, and it has impacted me more than any other franchise. But let's take all this one step at a time. First off, the characters, which is the best aspect of these games in my opinion. Each cast from each game is very lovable with some diverse designs, personalities, and battle properties. Sure, there's archetypes, but Intelligent Systems always tries their best to make their characters as distinct as possible from each other. Not to mention, the support conversations really flesh out the characters even more. Also, can I just say that these games look and sound amazing? No matter which game I'm playing, no matter what art style is presented, I'm always hyped to see some neat environments, really badass attack animations, and listening to music that's been stuck in my head since the very first time I listened to them. The stories of these games are also phenomenal, as they really show off a sense of moral gray and the horrors of war, showing us sometimes that there are no winners and sometimes there is no right or wrong answer. So powerful. Not to mention that the gameplay and mechanics really makes you have to think about your next course of action instead of just running in aimlessly, otherwise your units will bite the dust. You could put your weaker units away and have certain units dominate, but sometimes you need healers to heal your party, and if you want to level up your units, then you have to have them out and battling, and it may make things more tough to have them all survive, but it's also more satisfying when you win. Also, some Fire Emblem games really let you branch out in the series' diverse and distinct class system for that customization factor. Each class has their own specific stats, roles, and goals they must accomplish. And just like Pokemon, this series made more of an impact on me than any other franchise. It's been with me since my humble beginnings, has always been there for me when I felt down, and I've made tons of friends because I've played these games. And that is what video games are all about. And it's for these reasons that Fire Emblem is my favorite video game franchise of all time. This has been Kdog. I wish you all have a great day, and next in line is my favorite songs from the franchise featuring the fastest thing alive. Thank you all for watching.